Today on CityCast Denver. A few years ago, I started to notice these obnoxious yellow signs that said, "We buy ugly houses," popping up all over the city. I didn't know what they were about, but something felt fishy. I wanted to know exactly who was running this shady-seeming operation, so I called up Anjanette Damon, a reporter with ProPublica, who did an investigation into the company behind We Buy Ugly Houses. She unveiled a scheme you have to hear to believe. Today is Tuesday, June 20th. I'm Bree Davies, and here's what Denver's talking about. Anjanette Damon, welcome to CityCast Denver.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So many of my Twitter followers were like, Bree, someone finally did the investigation into the thing that drives you crazy, which is I'm the crazy lady in Denver who drives around and takes down those We Buy Houses for Cash signs. I will pull over on any street. I've got scissors and a screwdriver, and I rip those things off. They make me so mad. And I feel like you're reporting validated what I thought was something about this feels fishy. You know?
We found that this company, the way the company advertises, and they spend an insane amount of money on advertising. So that's why you've seen these billboards. That's why you get these letters in your mailbox. Yeah, so you know that name, We Buy Ugly Houses, and you think, oh, it's like a box of Kleenex. It's like We Buy Ugly Houses. Let's call that number. But that advertising often catches people in the net who are in very vulnerable situations. And it's almost, it could be analogous to like a payday loan kind of thing. I need money fast to help me out of this situation. The company teaches franchises to quote unquote find the pain, and they leverage that pain to get a contract. And, payday loans can be very difficult and put people in a lot of difficult financial situations. Here we're talking about a home, which is the largest investment most people have in their entire lifetimes.
Anjanette, can you tell me the story of Corrine Casanova?
Yeah, so Corrine Casanova and her husband bought a 3-bedroom small house in a Los Angeles suburb way back in 1961. They raised a family, raised 3 kids there. Unfortunately, Corrine's husband passed away before she did, and her health started to decline. She started suffering from dementia, and her kids figured it was time for her to move to a place where she could get more care. And so she was days away from moving into assisted living. And for some reason, we're not sure why, it occurred to her that she might have to sell her house. And so she had a letter that had come in her mailbox sometime in the past. She called the number and said, "Hey, I'm moving into an assisted living facility. Could you give me an estimate of the value of my house?" She had reached a company called HomeVestors, and they sent a man named Corey Evans out to her house. He was there the next day. Within just a short period of time, he had convinced her to sign a contract to sell her house for a price about 60% of what it was worth.
Wow.
Remember, she had pretty well documented dementia. Her kids said that she had maybe about a 3-minute memory. She would mistake her adult son as her brother all the time, and they just kind of went along with it, They had no idea she had signed this contract to sell the house. And sadly, she passed away about 19 days after she signed the contract. And that's when they discovered what had happened. Corey Evans sent a handwritten note to her house after she had died saying, "Hey, we're closing. Where are you?" When her son David found the letter, he's like, "Look, we're not selling this house. My mom had dementia. She didn't know what she was signing. We need to drop all of this." Instead of, letting that family walk away, this company, it was a franchise of HomeVestors named Patriot Holdings. They sued the Casanova family to hold them to the deal, engaging them in a 4 or 5 year legal battle that continues today.
We all get these letters in the mail if we own a home. You want to sell your house? She has dementia. She calls them and says, "I have dementia." That should be a signal to a real estate person like, oh boy, let's get somebody else involved here. But that's what I want to know is why did this company go through with this knowing this about her?
I should say that in their legal filings, Corey Evans maintained throughout that he noticed no signs of impairment or dementia. She didn't, we do have a transcript of that phone call. She didn't outright say, hey, I have dementia. But she was elderly. She was by herself. She was moving into assisted living. Her family took all the steps they thought that they could. The house was in a trust, so she legally couldn't sign it over anyway. They had installed cameras to keep her safe, and still this happened. So it's a really difficult thing to protect against. And I think the motivating factor for these companies are just get the contract signed. Maybe there's clues that there's dementia. Maybe there's clues that there's a power of attorney out there. Maybe there's clues that that it's in a trust. And we found multiple examples of HomeVestors franchises kind of ignoring those clues, getting a contract signed, and then going forward with a legal battle. Maybe they don't end up with the property, but in other cases, we've seen them get 10, 15 grand, even more money just to settle, to walk away from the contract that they got signed.
This episode is brought to you by Levitt Pavilion. Because their free, all-ages summer concert season runs through September. And let's be honest, we all know Levitt is the best. It's an outdoor, all-ages amphitheater based in Ruby Hill Park in southwest Denver, just 10 minutes from downtown. Have you guys been to shows at Levitt? I'm going this Saturday. Check out affordably priced shows like Heartless Bastards, Charlie Tuna, and Flor de Toloache. They're like the first all-female mariachi band from New York that does a Nirvana medley in mariachi style. I was like, were you made for me? Were you a band that was created for me? And you can see tons of free shows too, like La Dama, Soccer Mommy, Flowbots, and more. Bring a picnic or buy dinner from one of the many rotating local food trucks, grab drinks at their well-stocked bar, and enjoy music under the stars at Levitt. RSVP for free shows, buy tickets, and check out VIP packages at levittdenver.org. That's LEVITT Denver.org. So this situation with Corinne Casanova, as you said, happened in Los Angeles, in the Los Angeles area, but HomeVestors is a franchise, so they operate all over the country. Most folks will be aware of them because they advertise with these billboards that have a caveman on them that say, "We buy ugly houses." Tell me exactly, who is HomeVestors? Who is this company behind We Buy Ugly Houses?
So it was started in the late 90s by a Texas real estate investor, and they kind of formalized this process for flipping houses. And it's evolved. This entire industry has evolved over the years. But HomeVestors has grown into quite a behemoth. They probably make more of their money signing up franchises, just like a McDonald's or a Subway. So they franchises operate in 48 states. There's about 1,100 of them. And HomeVestors teaches this process for how to take a call, go to the house quickly, talk the person into signing a contract, and then sometimes they'll sell that contract. As I said, it's evolved and it's pretty complicated. So sometimes they won't even take ownership of the house. They'll just sell the contract to another investor who buys the contract and thus the house. Sometimes they'll fix it up and flip it. Sometimes they'll maintain it and they'll rent it out. So there's various exit strategies.
So you and your fellow reporters, the reporting that you did focused on this one company, HomeVestors, which operates franchises all over the country. Anjanette, how prevalent is this problem?
It's prevalent. HomeVestors is not the only actor out there. This conversation kind of started, and our reporting started by wondering who is behind the sign on the telephone pole. There are so many iterations of house flippers out there. We ended up focusing on HomeVestors. They're self-proclaimed the largest cash home buyer in the country, because they kind of developed this system, because they train franchises all over the country. We said, well, let's look at this. But just go on YouTube, just go on Instagram, just Google anything about, get rich quick on real estate. And you have, rather than franchises, you have these gurus that are selling systems. And yeah, they're really popular in hot markets. Phoenix, Florida, North Carolina, Atlanta, all of these markets that you think of as hot housing markets where homes are going quickly, they're operating. Denver as well.
Denver is a hot market. Like I joke, you can like sell a half burned down house here for $1 million in the right neighborhood. So I was like, why do they, but they still operate here. I still see their signs and I still see iterations of these other companies. So there is still a way for them to make money, even when the market is competitive. And it sounds like in part because it's such a complicated thing that a lot of homeowners don't fully understand.
They have the brand in their head, the We Buy Ugly Houses in their head. So they have the letter. The letter literally said, while I was doing this reporting, I literally got a Homevestors letter. And it's stamped right there in red. Keep this letter with your important house papers. Right. So you get this in the mail and you're older and then here comes
You think
a time.
it's important.
Yeah. Here's this letter. Why don't I call this number and see what happens?
I know that you reached out to Homevestors, I'm sure, for an interview or a comment, but I wonder what was their reaction to your investigation?
We requested several times an interview with the CEO, David Hicks. He declined our offer. They engaged a kind of a reputation management PR company. And to their credit, they answered our questions. We sent them several rounds. It's our practice at ProPublica never to surprise anybody who's the subject of a story. So even if they decline interviews with us, we send them a summary of what our reporting has found and said, finding number 1, this is what we found. Do you have anything to say about this? Here's a question for you. And Homevestors PR representative provided answers. Sometimes they didn't exactly answer the question, but they did provide answers to all of our questions. And again, their response was that we looked at a small number of transactions and that they have a 96% customer satisfaction rating. They, again, denied that they target anybody in any kind of socioeconomic condition or age or race or particular. They're targeting the house. But shortly after we sent that letter, our first letter, we got wind that they had held a conference call with all of their franchises to warn them that this story was coming out, and we were able to obtain a recording of that webinar, which was, one of the first times I've been able to see in real time how a company reacts to my reporting before the story even came out.
When this article comes out, I want to encourage you, please don't click on it. We will go post the article on the internet. We'll post other articles where they've been printed so you can see them. But if you click on it, you will drive they're up on the SEO.
And in that call, they said, one of the franchises asked, well, are they making up information? And the company was like, no, they have good information. They actually did good reporting. They dug in areas we never would have expected them to dig.
Overall, we're going to change some of our practices and make sure we change our systems and standards to make sure that we have our franchise doing the right thing.
Well, Anjanette Damon, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And here's what else Denverites are talking about.
Hey guys, just love you so much. This is Debbie from Pueblo, and heard that you guys picked your summer probably as going to the Georgetown Loop Old West days, which is very cool. 30-ish years ago, I was a docent for Colorado history and got trained on doing tours in the mine that's on the loop. So it is one of the coolest places to go. I definitely recommend seeing if you can add that to your train ride, because that is a really cool experience. Hope you guys are having a great summer. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Hi, CityCast. My name's Bailey, and I live in the University neighborhood. And I'm calling because I work for Denver Parks and Rec as an outdoor pool coordinator this summer. And I wanted to announce that my pool, La Alma Outdoor Pool, is open this summer for the first time since 2019. So come check out a hidden gem on the west side. Thanks. Bye.
That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed the show, why not take a minute to tell HomeVestor CEO David Hicks about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe to our morning newsletter, Hey Denver, by texting Denver to 66866. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye. I have a pop filter to replace this janky pop filter, but my desk is so full of stuff, I can't find the new pop filter.